High above the mortal world, beyond the clouds and storms, lies a shining peak, Mount Olympus. The great mountain did not simply rise from the dust, it was forged in the heat of a titan's rage and cooled by the vengeful oceans. This was the seat of power, a celestial fortress ruled by a dysfunctional, immortal family, the Olympians. They were not quiet scholars or benevolent saints. They were gods, and they were terrifying. First, there was the undisputed king, Zeus. His very presence was a threat. He was the thunderclap that split the sky, the lightning bolt that reduced mountains to ash. He was law, order, and the most notorious oathbreaker. His domain was the sky, his weapon a furious thunderbolt, and his reign was defined by relentless ambition, endless affairs, and the raw, untamed force that kept the cosmos from tearing itself apart. He was the center of everything, a maelstrom of power and indiscretion. Beside him, but never truly beside him, stood his wife and sister, Hera. The queen of the gods, goddess of marriage and childbirth, she was majestic, beautiful, and utterly ruthless. Her symbols, the peacock and the crown, spoke of regal authority, but her story was a cycle of glorious fury. She was the relentless tormentor of Zeus's lovers and illegitimate children, a living monument to the volatility of divine jealousy. Her power lay not in the storm, but in the slow, inevitable tightening of a venomous noose. And then, the earth shaker, Poseidon. God of the seas, earthquakes, and horses. He was Zeus's brother, but his rival. Where Zeus claimed the clouds, Poseidon commanded the crushing, cold depths. His trident could summon tidal waves to drown continents or shatter the land to its core. He was moody, volatile, and perpetually ambitious, always rattling the foundations of Olympus, a simmering threat just offshore. Not all power was brute force. Athena was the walking contradiction, a warrior who hated pointless bloodshed. Goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, and handicrafts, she gleams in golden armor, her owl ever watchful. Born from Zeus' own head fully formed and armored, she carried the shield Aegis and fought with cold, surgical precision. She built cities, taught mortals mathematics, and advised heroes. She was the mind that outmaneuvered armies, the logic that tamed chaos. Her direct opposite was Ares, the pure, screaming embodiment of war. God of savagery, bloodlust, and battle. He was magnificent, impulsive, and adored the simple clash of bronze and bone. While Athena represented the planning room, Ares was the slaughterhouse floor. He was a handsome brute whose volatile affairs and reckless exploits were a constant embarrassment to his parents, yet his presence on the battlefield was pure, intoxicating fear. And finally, the unlikely creator, Hephaestus. The god of fire, forges, and craftsmanship. The only physically imperfect god, lame and banished, he possessed the most perfect hands. He forged the lightning bolts for Zeus, the chariot for Helios, and the armor for every hero. Banished, he built his sanctuary beneath a volcano, a master artisan who channeled his pain into the creation of objects of impossible beauty and devastating power. He was married, unhappily, to the most beautiful goddess of all. From Zeus's countless liaisons, two striking forces emerged. Apollo, the dazzling, golden god of music, poetry, prophecy, and the sun. He was the ultimate creative force, demanding harmony and light. He drove his chariot across the sky, bringing the dawn, and spoke the ambiguous, terrifying truths through his oracle at Delphi. He represented the civilized arts, yet his temper, when roused, was as swift and deadly as the golden bow he carried. His twin, Artemis, was the untamed spirit of the hunt, the moon, and wild animals. A fierce, eternal virgin goddess, she led a host of huntresses through the ancient forests. She embodied savage independence and merciless purity. She protected the young and innocent but would annihilate any man who dared threaten her or her sacred vow. If Apollo was the light of reason, Artemis was the primal power of the midnight forest. The world spun on the cycles defined by Demeter, the goddess of the harvest and agriculture. Her heart was linked to the fertility of the earth. She was benevolent and nurturing, but her sorrow was a cataclysm. When her daughter, Persephone, was kidnapped, her grief plunged the world into the first winter, proving that even the most domestic of goddesses held the power of global ruin. Her love was the bread that sustained man, her rage was famine. The fastest mind in creation belonged to Hermes, the god of travel, thieves, commerce, and the messenger of the gods. Born a master thief, he moved between the mortal, divine, and underworld planes with unparalleled speed, winged sandals flashing. He was the quick wit, the smooth talker, the master of boundary crossings, carrying Zeus's decrees, and often, his secrets, with a mischievous smirk and a caduceus staff. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, and desire. She was born of the sea foam and carried an irresistible, intoxicating aura. Every hero, god, and mortal was a pawn in her games of passion. She was married to the gruff Hephaestus, but her lovers were countless, most famously Ares. Her power was the most disruptive. A glance from her could start a war or end a dynasty. She proved that pure, unbound desire was stronger than any lightning bolt or trident. And finally, the latecomer, Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and ecstasy. He was the final immortal to claim a seat, replacing the more reserved Hestia, who selflessly stepped aside. Dionysus represented the liberation of the spirit, the intoxicating freedom of the party, and the terrifying madness Maenads that followed. He was life-altering joy and mind-shattering chaos rolled into one, a powerful reminder that the Olympians were not just rulers, but forces that controlled the deepest, most irrational human impulses. So they stood, the 12, a family of unmatched power, eternal drama, and magnificent contradictions. They bickered, they schemed, they loved, and they destroyed. They were the tempest of human nature reflected onto a godly canvas. Their thunder still rolls in the distance, their rivalries still echo in the changing seasons, and their stories are the enduring blueprint for all the glory and tragedy that can be found under the eternal, watchful sky of Olympus. They rule not just the world, but the very hearts of men. And so, from the peak of Olympus, the 12 still gaze upon the world below. Their myths are not forgotten, their power not diminished. For every storm, every harvest, every song, every war, still carries the echo of the 12 Olympians, the eternal gods of Greece.